But hi everyone. Good afternoon. That was good. And that's so correct. Often I hear our name pronounced woohoo or woohoo, but it's woohoo! And it's amazing. I brought from Denmark some tips from some of the happiest and most successful companies that we have. Thank you so much. Applause him. Yeah. Looks a lot more better. So, woohoo. So, I brought you 3 tips. But before I move on to the tips, I want you to learn a little bit Danish. How many in here can say a word in Danish? Tak. Wonderful, which means thank you. Yeah? Was that the same word? Okay. I want you to learn to pronounce this word. This word actually means, if I translate it directly into English, it will be work happiness. And this is a real word in Denmark. This is a word that we use every day. Employees use it, employers use it. It's a word that everybody knows. So work happiness or work joy in Danish is pronounced arbejdsglæde. So work happiness, I don't know, is that a word that you would use ever in your workplace? Work happiness? Yeah? And have you tried to look it up in the dictionary? It's not there. Can't find it. But in Denmark we have this word, and I want you to say after me. I'll just try to make it easier for you. Arbejdsglæde. So try to say after me. Arbejdsglæde. Fantastic. Now you can understand the most important word in Danish. Maybe after tak. But arbejdsglæde is really, really important as well. So what I brought is 3 tips. And with the tips, some cases, some of the coolest workplaces we have in Denmark. We have a lot of cool workplaces. So it was actually hard for me just to find 3. But tip number 1 is, why not in every single company have happiness at work ambassadors or chief happiness officers? I think every company should have a chief happiness officer or a group of chief happiness officers. A company called SEB Pension, 4 years ago, they created this group of ambassadors, of chief happiness officers. And what they have done ever since, for 4 years now, is that every single year they create a happiness plan. And they're very structured. And I actually think that's maybe one of the reasons why it's working so well for them. So they sit down in this group and they create a project plan for a year ahead. Every single year they do this. And they come up with a lot of ideas. Some will be one day, something will maybe be just for 1 hour. Some of them will run for weeks or maybe even for a month. And they decide all the things for a full year. That's the things you can see on the left. And then they decide who is responsible for each of these projects. And then they make the plan happen. And I brought one of the tips that I really liked what they did. They would like people to move because they know when people move, they have more energy, they got more work done. And we all want our people to get more work done. And employers as well, they go to work not to be happy, but to do a great job. So they actually also want to do a great job. So they want to be energized. So what they did at SEB Pension, they created this folder with walking tours. They wanted their employees to have walk and talks. And actually, so it should be easy for the employees to know that it's okay within this company to do a walk and talk. It's not a social walk. It could be, that would be okay too. But they wanted to also have it for business meetings, that they create these walk and talks. So they created tours for 30 minutes, for 45 minutes, or even for 60-minute walks. And what made it even crazier and more amazing, in my opinion, is that they created these posters that you see on the right side. And after finishing a meeting, a walk and talk meeting, they put up stickers for 60, 45, or 30 minutes walk. And each month, they could actually count and find out how many miles of meetings did we have this month. And they could have competitions from team to team, how many miles they'll have meetings. Do you guys have a lot of meetings? Yes, sometimes too many meetings. And sometimes they are too long. And often they found out that the meetings actually got shorter when they did this, because people also wanted to go back after the meetings and get things done. So walk and talk meetings, why not measure those in miles and not in hours and minutes? Tip number 2. We all know that it's important to share the good stories, share what's working well, even to learn from what's working. And we try to teach all our clients to share the good. Not only the good things that they can measure, but also progress within a project or within some things that people are working on. To share, oh, we just decided to do this. This is a brand new idea. They don't know even if it works, but it's still great because they found out something new. So that's actually what I would like you guys to do, to share something cool with each other. So I have a small exercise for you. So before I give you the task, I know it's in the end of the day. I'm the last speaker, so I would like you all to stand up, please. Put the chair under the table. So, find yourself a partner. So partner up 2 and 2. I would suggest a person that you have not been talking to today. So find a person that you have not been talking to today. Introduce yourself. Thank you so much. Please find your seats. Amazing, wonderful. That was fantastic. So one quick question. How did it feel to share that story? Good or bad? Great, exactly. So did some of you actually had that feeling again, that great experience of doing something great? You had that feeling one more time? Yeah, and that's what happens when we are sharing the good stories. And why not do that in the workplace on a regular basis? The case story that I brought for you guys, it's a Danish company. I don't know if you heard about it. They're called Lego. And at Lego, we did both workshops and keynotes with Lego, and some of the teams really took this about sharing the good into the teams, and they have continued doing it year after year for many years now. And they tell us that it's still successful. What they do when they have meetings is that they start every single meeting with something positive. So they have actually an item 0 on their agenda. So even though they have a lot of things they want to discuss, they always start with item 0 on the agenda, which is share something positively. It can be one person sharing something he or she has been working on, a new idea. It can be praise that they got in. It can be a team sharing something great they experienced in a project, whatever. It can be the manager commenting, sharing stuff. Or it can be exactly the same exercise as you just did. They can ask, now before we start the meeting, please buddy up 2 and 2, share a story. What's good about also buddying up is that every single person is actually sharing one of their stories, and they're also hearing one for their colleague. So that's 2 good stories from themselves or one of the team members. So that's actually helping them to remember the good things happening. What is it that, in Denmark, often we talk about things that are not going right, problems we have. Do you do that in here as well in Britain? Yeah? So the first thing we have to discuss is this problem, and we have to solve it. If you look into the science, we actually saw that meetings that starts with something positive will be better meetings. We actually could see that meetings that start with something positive will actually, for the rest of the meeting, be in a more positive atmosphere. Secondly, meetings that start with something positive, it will be easier to agree on something. And so often in meetings we want to agree on something. And last but not least, meetings that start with something positive will be shorter. How many goes to a lot of meetings? How many people would say too many meetings? Too long meetings? Yeah, right? So maybe you should try doing this, starting the agenda with an item 0, something positive. It really, really works. So share the good stuff. It's so important both to share the good stories, but also to learn from them, to see how can we use that in other situations within the company. Maybe one team can share with another team, and they can learn from that. So not only sharing within one team, but with the whole company. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yeah. Good. So start meetings with something, share a story, let people partner up. It's really, really important. Tip number 3. You all know about random acts of workplace kindness, right? Do something nice for one of your colleagues, and that person will become happier. And as we heard before, it was actually Sarah, I think, who said that the things that actually matters are things that are for free, right? Things that we do for each other. It's for free. Bring a colleague a cup of coffee. You're getting one for yourself. Why not bring one for your colleague? Bring flowers to the office from your garden. They are there anyway. Things that you can do easily but will make a difference. Where the situation where you show a colleague that you care. Random acts of workplace kindness can be from person to person. This is one of the small things that we have seen in the Danish, one of our clients called Ørsted, where people surprise each other with small post-its on their computer screen or decorating the rooms. And I will say this is just to show a colleague that you care. But be careful, it can be too much. Never too much. I like that, Sarah. But just showing one of your colleagues or maybe even your manager that you care, that you have taken your time to do something that you know will make that person happy. But it can also be from team to team. We have several clients that's done this where one team is surprising another team, and then it goes in turns. And you never know what team is the next to. You don't know if you're the next team who is going to be surprised. You only know who is starting the next happiness, random kind of act. Random acts of workplace kindness. So when it goes from team to team, you can invite your colleagues to coffee, to a meeting. You can make them pancakes. You can invite them and share what you're working on. So you can actually have knowledge sharing while surprising them with coffee or smoothies or pancakes or whatever. So it's not only for the relationships, but it's also to creating better results and knowledge sharing within the company. What I also like, when it's not from person to person, but not from team to team, I know we have a lot of managers in the room. How many in here has a managing role? I knew it. So I had to bring this. Of course, it could be a random act of kindness from a manager to his or her team. These two guys, Carsten and Carsten, and yes, they're both names are Carsten. It's not that everybody in Denmark is called Carsten, but they are both Carsten. They love to surprise their teams. They are the head of 2 different teams, but often they do things together because sometimes it's easier not to do it by yourself, but to buddy up with a colleague and do it together. They love to surprise their employees. This is a Danish Christmas tradition. For Christmas, we have this dessert. It's a rice pudding. It's called risalamande. These two guys, Carsten and Carsten, they decided that at Christmas time they will walk around without notice and hand out this risalamande for every single person in the company. So then they walk around, say Merry Christmas. They even were wearing these silly Christmas hats. They loved it, and people loved it. And people loved that they saw their managers taking time to actually go out there and serve them, and they could have a small chat. They could see their colleagues and say, how's it going? They could give them appreciation, praise them, whatever. They had the time to see them and talk to them in a different way. And I brought a video that I would love to share with you guys. It's the two same guys. It's Carsten and Carsten. The company's name is Solar. And one morning they decided that they wanted to surprise the whole company by standing in the door in the morning. And this is before 7 o'clock in the morning. They would meet every single person coming in. They will greet them, say good morning. It's in what we call a level 5 good morning, where you say good morning, you have eye contact, you add something extra, you even maybe even have a handshake or whatever. So this is really, really interesting. So they have this good morning session and a random act of kindness. So they actually have breakfast for every single person. So watch this short video. So, look at that guy's face. So do they do this every single morning? No, they don't. He's really surprised. But what they told us is that all the employees, they talked about this morning for weeks and weeks and even months after. Do you remember that morning when they greeted us in the door? It was amazing. And it's not because of the breakfast. And I know, because the receptionist actually told me that that bakery that they're using are actually giving the company a Christmas gift. So they're really good clients, right? So what they did is handing out breakfast, but what was the people noticing? Why were they becoming happier? The surprise that they took the time to be there and show the employees that they care, that they actually showed their employees that they matter to them, and they took the time to do it. So, random acts of workplace kindness, share the good stories, and why not have a group of ambassadors creating a lot of great ideas that you can do during the year to create a happier workplace. And it's not the things that you can pay for. It's not the big things. It's not that one big Christmas party that will make people happy at work. It's the small things in every single workday you have. It's the small things that makes the big difference. What matters? How you can actually become happier at work yourself is, of course, to do more of what makes you happy and to do something about the things that makes you unhappy at work. But what you can do is to make other people happy. Because science shows that when you make other people happy and you see that they become happier, you too will become happier. So make other people happy and you'll become happier yourself. I will end with asking you a question that I would like you to discuss around the table. And it's actually, first I have one question for you guys, and then I want you to share around the table. How many of you have a group of ambassadors, of chief happiness officers in your company? 1, 2, 3. That was not a lot. How many of you have a project plan for happiness at work? Only a few. How many of you think that it would matter to have a strategy for happiness at work? Wonderful. How many of you think that you actually already are doing stuff that are making yourself and your colleagues happier? Exactly. Sometimes we just do it naturally, and I think a lot of us in this room today, it just comes naturally. We do it. We make other people happy. We want to be happy ourselves. And no, we cannot be happy every single day. But most days at work, we should go to work happy, and we should go home happy too. So share around the table things that you already do or have done in your company to create a happier workplace, a happy organization. I'll give you a few minutes. 2 minutes. My last, but then I would think probably best advice is like have an end date when you start doing something. And what we found out is do something that are showing people that they are creating results, that they know they are doing a great work, and also do stuff that makes people, helps them to create even better relationships. Both are equally important. So thank you very much for joining me for this session.